Hi guys, this is the my gangtalking introduction video number 4, and in this video I will try to adhere to the topic of electronic surveillance, electronic torture, electronic assault, directed energy weapons. What else? There's just different ways that the targeted individual community titles this. Actually, I want to say there's different ways that the perpetrator community, the maggots, the people who are involved with this, police, fire, community, regular people, people like you who go to work every day, from nurses to Comcast workers, Amazon workers, UPS workers, every kind of person you can think of. Most people in this world are weak. I know that seems very pessimistic, but it is true. They are weak, meaning they will buckle if you offer them money, and it's usually not a small amount of money. They're protected in some way as well. They're promised a lot of different perks. If you go to one of the links in my introductory video number 3, there's a link in there that talks about that's from this another perp. He's a shill, but they create videos. It's the perpetrators of this create videos for the real TIs. Let's put it that way. And the real targeted individuals are never in contact with each other. We don't. I may have come across one and I didn't know, but they will make it so that you will not speak with them, or you'll be shadow banned from them. Shadow banned meaning, you know, people can't see you or you can't see them. Though I think the shadow banning is not as, from just based on my deduction and based on how they've responded to me, I don't think it is as comprehensive as they think it is. They want me to think it is, and I don't think that if I if I really try to get a job and if I really try to fight, that I think eventually I could make a little bit of noise before they shot and killed me. But anyways, I this is going to be about electronic torture. I'm not going to go too much into detail because I don't know what they're using. They send you so much about what they're using, right? Directed energy weapons. There's these guns, that they say that they carry, but this is all remote, right? I know there's something in the attic of this place that I'm living in, because when the gang stalking started in November 2019, there were these little creaks that started happening in the ceiling and around my room, and it was noticeable. And it just happened all day, where it didn't happen before. So it'll sound like the best way I can describe it is it sounds like somebody throwing a pebble. If you have an attic, someone throwing a pebble on the roof. So it sounds like somebody just dropped something. Or, and I mean, if you're thinking about a directed energy weapon, and I'm using these tag words, it's not necessarily the name of the device. That's the name of the. A lot of the names I'm using is what these maggots use for the devices. Um, but they, they create waves, and so they can create sounds because the waves hit, matter, and sometimes they can cause vibration. So sometimes it sounds like, how your house is resettling. If you live in an old house and sometimes it just resettles and it has a creak. If you don't live in an old house, you won't know what I mean. But probably maybe someone who's lived in a home or has been in someone's home where someone's walking on the ceiling and it's an old home, and it'll sound like a creak when they step on a floorboard. It's like that. Sometimes it's very quiet, sometimes it's very loud. When the gang stalking was happening in the beginning, it was very loud. So they're directed energy weapons. And there's this woman, her name's Helena, and I met her on one of the evening phone call uh, dial in, numbers that you dial in when helplines that you dial in that exist for gang stalking. They exist all over, they're in Los Angeles, they're here in the Bay Area, they're in Australia, they're in none in France, none in Germany, but like in the UK. Really, the main gang stalking countries. If you Google it, they'll come up: targeted justice, pact, PACT victims of crime.com. Well, that's actually not one of them, but the one that I went to a lot was PAX, and that's a maggot. They're pieces of shit. PAX International Home. These are all. It's all carried out by perpetrators, people pretending to be targeted individuals, but they're not. And they have telephone lines where you call in. They're called, using freeconferencecall.com, and then a bunch of people call in and they all talk about what they're going through, and the calls are very, very structured. And if you are a person that, like, if you, I didn't know this before, but if you are a person that is a real TI, and there have been a few times where a real TI will call in, and this is not the only one. PAX International is not the only one. That's a fake gangster. They're all fake. Anything you search that comes up is all fake, because they would never let a targeted individual site or story, a real targeted individual story, get out. But so if you try to talk, and I've seen it, and you're a real TI, then they will block you, or they won't let you talk, or they'll label you as something. And remember, they have technology to make you think something about that particular person. I know that sounds like it's super sci-fi, and it sounds almost like you're crazy, like I'm crazy for even thinking that. But remember, I don't have any history of mental issues. I've never been, diagnosed with anything. I don't have bipolar. I don't have depression. I don't have a drinking problem, a drug problem. Although now that I've said that, and now that I'm talking about this, although I highly doubt it, I think they have something else in store for me that's worse. Um, they may incarcerate me. They'll come up with some reason, and this happens, or they say that it's happened, but I have no doubt that it happens, because they've tried to set me up a couple times to scare me. Um, they try to discredit you by, you have a record, or you're mentally challenged because you were, what is that word, where you were locked up in a mental institution for a while, or you're schizophrenic or something like that. You need to have some kind of label like that, because that just immediately disqualifies your credibility. I did have a older white male who got into my Lyft car when the gang stalking was starting, in November, December, January. I think I was actually driving for Lyft December, January, February. But he got into my car. He was the first customer that got into my car. And this is a typical situation where they try to set you up, or he was just trying to show me how easy it can be. But I got into the car, and then I got a ping, and he got into the back seat. And then as he got into the back seat, he creepily said to me from behind, and I can't really describe to you how creepy it was, but it was. He said, "Hey, I just found this in the back seat." And his face expression had this kind of smug look on it. And I turned around and looked at him, and he was holding a wallet, and it had cash sticking out of it. Like, you have a wallet, and maybe you might have a dollar bill, kind of the cover, the corner of it sticking out, but it had bills sticking out of it. And it was about, it wasn't very much. It was like $100. Um, and, um, and as soon as I dropped him off, I looked at the wallet, and it was a girl, and it was a passenger that I had never picked up. Okay? So let me say that again. This creepy guy got in my back seat, says that he found a wallet, and I didn't look in the back seat, by the way, when you get in. How many times do you actually look in your back seat when you get into your car? And he handed it to me, had cash sticking out of it, and he said, and he was a perp. They're all perps, and this is why I say they're pieces of shit. They're horrible, disgusting people with no moral compass. And he was smugly looking at me as he handed it to me. And then who you've picked up and who you haven't picked up when you're a Lyft driver, even though you pick up quite a few people. You look at the address, and you were in that area. I was in that area, and you also have a list of people that you picked up around that time. It's very detailed. And so I had not picked up that customer. So I went to the Oakland police, returned the wallet with all the cash in it. I took pictures, I took a record, I took a video, and I got a form back from the Oakland police. I have it here. It's in my house, and that that says that I returned a stolen wallet. Essentially, that wasn't there for me to get in trouble. That was there to show me, and they've done things like this consistently. That was there to show me how they can easily frame me and arrest me. So essentially, what's going on is um, they have done many things like this to people all over the world. Um, when you see people get framed for things, uh, people who are trying to speak out, a lot of times they are, and they get arrested, or you see that they have a strange history. Maybe they were drug dealing, or got involved with a prostitute. That's them discrediting you to scare you. Now, I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but I'll get to the electronic torture. Maybe this part 4 will be a two-part kind of a thing, or maybe I'll go to part 5. Kobe Bryant, the man was murdered. He was killed. So was Martin Luther King. So was JFK, clearly by the CIA. At 9/11 was planned. Harvey Milk was killed. Marcus Garvey. I could go on and on and on. Uh, the, they're killed because they were influencers, or as Richard Nixon put it, what was he afraid of most? If you look into it, he was afraid of movements, and so is the government. The government doesn't want any kind of dissidents, like La Raza. I don't know if any of you guys remember that. If you were living in LA in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you would. LARAZA. It was a huge movement, actually, and then it just disappeared. Back then, those movements were real. Today, things like Antifa, those things, these are not real. They're all manufactured. So La Raza disappeared like off the face of the planet, and now you see a lot of my gang stalkers are Mexican, are Hispanic, and I don't think that's I don't think that's a coincidence. And I'm kind of jumping all over the place. It does make me sound kooky, but I'm trying to say that they can carry out whatever they wish, almost whatever they wish, because of the technology. If it wasn't for the technology, things would look very different here in the States, I think. And I don't know if it'd be for the best or for the worst. I think it'd be for the worst for a lot of different reasons. But the technology can make you think differently. It can make you hate and turn against the person that you love the most. Let's just put it that way. That's how extreme it can be. One minute you can love them with all your heart, and due to the technology, they can make you. It can make you think the person's crazy. They've betrayed you. You hate them. You no longer love them. It can be as extreme as that. But essentially, Kobe Bryant was murdered. I think his rape case, where he raped that young woman, was not true. I think he was rebelling, and I think they needed to show him, look, hey, listen, if you don't follow and listen to what we have to say, we're going to destroy you. And they did. They had that rape case come up against him. It was fraud. She was a perp. And then he was quiet for a while, and then he started fighting a pharmaceutical company. If it was in the news, this is something you want to look up. Take a sip from my coffee. He was fighting a pharmaceutical company because over the I think it was the term Black Mamba, and he had been it's in the news where he's been trying to fight them, and just a bunch of other things. I don't know what are those other things are. I can't tell you. But if you've been gang stalked for 9 months, this is not something that is crazy to me, because everything they have shown me and done to me, like that maggot that got in the back of my car, and a police officer who told me that who literally told me, don't go talking about people torturing you with directed energy weapons, or don't go like, this is not in my mind where a police officer said that to me. And these are, again, tip of the iceberg. If you've been listening to my introductory videos, I have thousands of stories like this. So when you are in my position where you're quote unquote targeted, meaning these things don't happen to regular people, obviously, but once you're targeted, these things happen to you, and they discredit you. They destroyed my career, so on and so forth. Then when you talk about it, people are like, well, look at her, she can't even keep a job, this and this and that. That's the whole point. So now Kobe, he wasn't listening. He was doing whatever he was doing, and then he was murdered. And 4 or 5 or 6 years earlier, he was shown to die in a helicopter crash. there's a cartoon. Just look it up, Google it, and he dies in a helicopter crash. This is something they like to do. They like to insert predictive programming, directed media. They do this to me all the time, telling me different ways that they're going to kill me, how they're going to rape me, um, how they're going to break into my home, how they've raped me in the past, how they've poisoned me, how they're going to kidnap me, throw me in the middle of the ocean, things like this. They do this all the time. And, you know, this is what runs our country. These are the people that run this country. Okay, they're your police officers, your city council, your politicians. The government knows all about this. Politicians, FBI, CIA, Department of Homeland Security, the National Reconnaissance Office, DARPA, NORAD. All of them know about this. If I went over everything that how fake and false this country is, and all countries really, then you would, maybe not all countries, but how false of a country this is, then if I went into everything and I showed you all the evidence, you would believe me. Yeah, so these are the things they do. And going back to the electronic weapons, that's what started. I would say that started around you know, I would say November, end of November, beginning of December. And it really started ramping up January, February, March. But in November and December, it was just my calves. They started, I started feeling pain in my calves, and I couldn't, I felt it, but I couldn't understand what it was. It basically felt like if you've ever gotten electrocuted from, let's say, a plug, or when I was a kid, I was so stupid. I think I stuck something in the socket wall and I electrocuted myself lightly, or something like that. I don't know how to describe it. It just felt like my calves were being irradiated, and that was a directed energy weapon. I didn't know it at the time, but now they use it on me every so often to punish me. It's usually after I've said, fuck their God, fuck Allah, fuck Yahweh, or something like that. They either send a spider or an insect my way, where it crawls near me or crawls on me or crawls next to me, or there's like mosquitoes or gnats flying in the air the next day, and that's another whole other story. But or I break something, right? So it's a common pattern where it's glass usually, and it's done in a very obvious way, or they use an electronic weapon on me and deprive me of sleep. This is sleep deprivation. Again, if you Google it, you'll find it. And so what they're using is, I don't know what they're using. I only know what they've sent me. They say they use directed energy weapons. This woman, Helena, that I used to speak to back in April, but I don't, because I found out that she is a perp. She calls them radar, RADAR. And she says in her email, radar was coined in 1940 by the United States Navy as an acronym for radio detection and ranging, and also something called TTWS, through the wall sensor device, which is all over the internet. MIT, just Google it. And which is also, the TTWS is also radar, radio frequency. And then she says when they target you, the people who are targeting you have a RWR computer, radar warning receiver, and it has determined that the target has been located, and that me, is seen on their TTWS computer screen, using the Doppler shift of the radar return. And the primary technology is a radio frequency, and to lock and track me. And it has two modes, search and track. And in search mode, the radar sweeps a radio beam across your house, and when the radio beam is reflected back, after it targets me, the radar gun's computer display, it shows on their computer screen, and so I'm the target. And using the mouse and the radar's gun computer algorithm software, you can choose the RF frequency, the RF power density, and the body part to hurt, to burn, to vibrate, to pulse with pressure waves or shock waves of MWRF directed energy, achieving effects ranging from a phantom touch to a tight beam focused MWRF piercing sting that feels like an electrocution to the skin, or multiple stings using a wider beam of pulsed microwave RF that is beyond itching over an area the size of a dinner plate. This adjustable focus of the RF of the radar can be best demonstrated by adjustable focus of a flashlight, which zoom lens allows you to easily switch from a narrow beam to a widespread coverage. And then she types in something called Outlight A100 900 High Lumens Ultra Bright CREE-XML T6 LED tactical flashlight with adjustable focus. I don't know why she put that in there. That looks like a regular flashlight. But then she says the TTWS device uses RF radar to achieve its narrow beam focusing pain capabilities to a wider beam, widespread bee stings assault. TTWS has controls for the rapidity of the pulses, which also influences the type of sensation you feel directed at you through your walls. And so she's this whole email is like pages and pages long. Yeah, that's just a regular flashlight. I don't know why she put that in there. She was just trying to give an example of how you can change the focus of the beam. But this is, I don't know if that's true what she's sending me, but that is an example of what information I've been sent throughout these 8-9 months of what they're doing to me. Another example would be the stuff that happened to the Cuban and Canadian and Chinese American embassy workers and their families. You might have seen that in the news. Essentially, they were attacked by microwaves. In the beginning, it came out that they were attacked by microwaves of some sort, radio waves of some sort, some kind of invisible device that caused them permanent damage. Basically turned their brains to kind of goo, and they haven't been the same since. And there also is, if you Google it, proof that I can't remember now because it's just so long ago, but if I find it and I remember it, I'll put it in the description box. I'll put a bunch of links in the description box. Not a fraction of what I've saved over this 8 or 9 months, but I'm so tired and demotivated right now because I'm sort of at the tail end of this. I'm really done with this. You can't even imagine what I've been through, and what they've probably done to my body, my brain. It feels like it's wrapped in cotton. It feels like I can't focus. I can't remember. I can't think. It is really Stasi. It's like if you Google Stasi and COINTELPRO, they destroy your life and destroy your body from the inside out. And for what, really? For what? They're disgusting people. And again, remember, these are the people that run the country. These are the cops all around you, fire, first response, EMT, people in your community who are doing this. It's disgusting, really. This is a terrorist country run by terrorist, psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic people. But anyways, I'll put these links in the comment box. Just about the radio frequencies, about the Cuban, that you can look that up yourself. You can Google Cuban ambassadors microwaves attacked, and about there's a Wikipedia article about the Russians, I think it was it Germans? No, Russians, who for a decade or more used radio waves, microwaves, some kind of directed energy weapons on American embassy workers just to see what would happen to them. I mean, it's literal, Nazi scientists crap. It really is. That's actually on Wikipedia somewhere. I can't remember what it was exactly, but the thing is all of this information is in plain sight. But unless you know about it, you won't really believe it, or you'll think we're crazy. So it sounds crazy, right? Because if somebody tells you, oh, the government has classified technology that can read your mind and can turn you into a Manchurian candidate, you'd be like, get out of here. This person's nuts. Matter of fact, I would be the first person who would say, this person's nuts. I would open my eyes wide like dinner plates and I would walk away slowly. I'd back away slowly. But it is true. And a lot of the things that you see in the movie about Manchurian Candidate, a lot of the things that you see, the technology that you see in there is based in reality. I am not kidding you. It is just hidden from you. They've sent me information about how there are military underground bases throughout the United States that are vast and high tech. And there's also some evidence online to show that. And that's where all of our tax dollars are going to, essentially. It's essentially the reason why our infrastructure is crumbling above is because the infrastructure is being rebuilt somewhere else for the wealthy, the rich. And they've been sending me predictive programming, directed messaging about, and warnings that something big is going to happen in the next decade or so. Something big where a lot of people are going to be affected. A lot of deaths are going to happen. and only the select few are going to be protected. So this is really important. Only the select few are going to be protected. Um, Select few, meaning the people who they feel worthy, who are genetically worthy, who are parts of families or bloodlines or lineages, or people who are completely 100% devoted to the US of A in a blind fashion, like they are to, like people were to Hitler. I'm not kidding you with this. And I do believe that a large majority of the people that are like Mexicans, the black people, sort of the plebs, the pawns, they are brainwashed, and the programming is used on them. And even higher up, some of the people that I've seen higher up, a lot of white people, I think, are the technology is used on them to disappear their guilt, disappear any form of resistance, any form of doubt. It can make you feel happy. I think the programming, this technology, and it can be used in a wave, right? Like, so if you watch that video, the link that I put in my description box in video 3, satellites or technology that's built into these quote unquote 5G, I don't know what they are. They're like building the towers. They can, you know, spit out rays to make you feel anxiety, to make you feel happy, to make you feel, if you wanted to protest, to make you want to go home, to make you the technology is great, you guys. So that's what's been happening to me. It was highest, the torture was highest back in November, December, January. They were zapping me with electrocution zaps. It feels like someone is literally shooting you with electric zaps. It keeps you up all night. It kept me up for 3 days, I think, once. And it's not just zaps like every hour or 2 or 3. It's right when you're trying to fall asleep. So, when you're just about to fall asleep, you don't know you're falling asleep, and you're in like this twilight stage. Every time that happened, they would zap me awake. It's like a Chinese water torture. So, I mean, it's not just like that, but imagine you being locked in your home, isolated, broken away from your entire family and friends, your career destroyed, people harassing you, noise campaigns outside of your home, death threats of rape, and then also being electronically tortured every time you try to fall asleep. Every time you're walking around, you have like pain in your legs and in your arms. It's torture. It is heinous, disgusting, repugnant behavior, and sadistic. They enjoy it. They have been taunted many times. And what else can they do? Let's see. They can monitor you. They're monitoring you through your phone, your TV, your laptop. They can make certain outcomes happen. I don't even know if I want to talk about this because this sounds so out there. I'll just put it this way. If they want certain things to happen in your life where you're injured, or a certain particular specific incident to happen to you, they can make that happen. I'm guessing here, and I want to be completely straightforward, because a lot of the problem with these maggots is that they have this ego problem that they've accused me of, which it's ridiculous. I clearly have the signs of someone who doesn't have that problem, but they can make things happen to you, and I don't know exactly how, and I don't know what technology they have. I just don't want to say it's for sure, because that's the kind of thing that they would do. For sure, 100%, this is right. No, I'm not like that. I'm not sure. I don't know is what I like to say. But since I've had so many incidents where they have directed me to a certain place, to say a certain thing, to react emotionally a certain way, to buy a certain product, and afterwards I come out of this like trance, and I kind of shake my head. I'm like, why did I do that? And you realize you were in a trance, and it's happened so many times repetitively that you realize, oh, they have a technology. And in addition to realizing that it's happened so many times, you have people telling you they can do that. Also, I've driven down the street, and this is a common thing, where you're at a stoplight and it's red, and then all of a sudden, for no reason at all, you press on the gas pedal fast, and you kind of lurch forward, and then you stop. Okay, so let me say that again. You're at a red light. Imagine yourself sitting at a red light, and then you lurch forward, and then you stop, kind of like about 50 feet. So you're not in the middle of the intersection. It looks like you're about to run the red light, but you stop. They do that with a directed energy weapon. And I had this one black kid in Oakland walk across the um, crosswalk and turn towards me and point at me with one of his earbuds. Like, you know, those little wireless earbuds? And as he did that, I lurched forward and did that exact same I thing that I just described, and then stopped. And he made it like a little smug smile, and he kept walking on. Um, that is the kind of thing. Those are the kind of things that would happen to me day in and day out. They don't happen to me anymore, but the last time it happened to me, I was reacting to what they were doing to me when I was going to pick up some fast food. I was angry and I was reacting to their gang stalking and that is the cars on the street that were swarming me, and they didn't like it, and so they made that happen. But essentially, the targeted directed energy weapons, they have, in plain sight. It's usually the phone. It's something having to do with the phone. They can insert images in your head like it's a movie. Um, it and I That's all I can think of right now. But if I can think of anything else, I'll include it. I'm very calm right now because I'm tired and I'm worn out. But this is real and it really happens. And they're essentially doing something to me right now where my emotions are kind of tucked away. I had a breakdown at one point. I think it was November, December, or around that time when all of this first started. It's so overwhelming that a normal person with empathy and emotion would have a breakdown. And I started one morning to wake up after it had been going on for some weeks, and after they had alienated from everyone that I had ever known. And I just opened my eyes, and the minute I opened my eyes, I started just sobbing and dry heaving in a way that I've never done before. I think the last time, yeah, well, maybe I did cry. The most I've ever cried was after my mother was murdered by these people. She was shot in the back of her head, and then the guy that did it was killed himself, and it was a mystery who he was, and they murdered her. And this is also something they tell you they do. They murder your family members, your pets. So, but this one was different. I woke up and my body just started convulsing, and I started, kind of saying, I can't do this. What the fuck is going on? And, the typical thing that would happen once you're going through something incredibly traumatic. And like somebody snapped their finger like that, it stopped. It just went from boom to nothing, to nothing. Um, Again, the best way I can describe it is sort of like the TV show Westworld, where she's crying in the beginning and like upset, and then Bernard goes, "Turn off your emotions," or I forget the exact line that he uses, but he says, "Turn off your emotions." Then she just kind of, her shoulders go down and her face turns like into you know, nothing. That's exactly what they can do to you. I've had that happen many times, where they force you to cry and act like sob, or not. And that's what's happening to me right now. They're turning me into a zombie. I'm starting to feel nothing. Um, and some people can say that that's just me turning numb, or me, whatever the psychologists will say. You'll Google it and you'll find that there will be some explanation as to why that's happening. I am telling you that that is not what's happening, okay? And that there is much more technology that I haven't even touched on. So I might do another technology video down the line once, if I should say, if I find the wherewithal to gather all the stuff that I've written up. But I'm going to stop there because we're at 34 minutes, the shortest video. And I'm tired. I'm just tired. I don't think I'm going to make it much longer, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I kind of have a plan. But it's this is wrong. They know it's wrong. They don't care. All of the world's problems that you see, the infrastructure, the murdering, the killing, the war, everybody at each other's necks. And I say this knowingly with reasons why. All of this that you see, all the world's problems, all United States, all of the United States problems that you see, every single one is because of these people. Every single one. They might think in their minds that it's not because of them. They will probably think, oh, what a bitch, she's such a, they will have that kind of reaction, like she doesn't know anything. They've alluded to me how I have no knowledge of what's really going on. How could I possibly know? They've alluded to me how America is like the savior, and like everyone follows America, follows lockstep in them, and like how everything will turn to crap if America falls. But also, this is, it's not mutually exclusive what I'm about to say. Or in other words, but also, America is a terrorist bully that creates problems throughout the world. America is a terrorist bully that wants utter control, and they will do anything to keep it. And so that anything is part of the problem. Anything as in steal money from the taxpayer, steal money from everyone. The financial crisis, this COVID thing, they're destroying everyone and their lives so that they can have more power, more money. All the corporations have profited, but the lower class, middle class, the non-existent middle class, is falling apart. Eventually, at one point, they will release another strain, or there'll be another earthquake, or some kind of quote unquote natural disaster will happen where a lot of people will die. So when I say everything, the problems that are happening, it is their fault, and they plan these things out. They get decades in advance. There's like this one clip on YouTube with the Three Stooges, black and white, where if you type in Three Stooges, a New World Order, NWO, it was first mentioned then. This has been around for a long time. This New World Order, I don't think that's what they call themselves. They probably snicker when we say Illuminati or Satanists or Luciferians or things like that. They don't really consider themselves, Satanists. That's stupid and silly. And if you have any kind of critical thinking, no, they consider themselves elite, better than everyone else because of quote unquote they're infested, genetically inferior bloodlines from incest and interbreeding. They have so many issues, passed on psychopathy. Don't ever think that you're less than them. They are beneath you, not because you have the same mentality that they have, that somehow you're superior because of bloodlines. No, they're inferior to you because of what they do, their actions, their lack of empathy, their lack of love, their lack of foresight, insight, their lack of judgment due to them being subjected to that mental illness of psychopathy and sociopathy and borderline personality disorder. I do truly believe a lot of them have been abused when they're younger, sexually abused, tortured, indoctrinated that they are superior and we are not, or indoctrinated that since their parents came over on the Mayflower and built this and built that we're inferior and they're not. That's all bullshit. And I'll tell you why that's bullshit. It's bullshit because they now, and have been for many decades, hundreds of years really, but specifically for many, many, many decades since they've had this technologies in the 50s, 60s, maybe even 20s, 30s, and 40s, kept down so many people who could have been the next Rockefeller, who could have been, well, maybe not the next Rockefeller, but who could have been the Google guy or the Microsoft guy or the Bezos guy, who were minorities, black, Asians, Hispanics. I don't know about Hispanics, but just people. They've been keeping down the new production of generational wealth, right? So if you're controlling that, if you're the controlling arms, the puppeteers, who gets to be successful, who gets to rise, then they're keeping down the minorities, which they have. Right now they're trying to say that they're not going to do that. They'll lie to the people who are blacks and Hispanics and Asians and say, no, as long as you love America, we'll help you. You can prosper as well. But essentially that's their ploy to keep everyone under control. Money, greed is the root. Greed, lies, manipulation, Machiavellian techniques, and now technology. Technology that is so nuanced that these people in the Boule Society, Boule, or I'm sure there's a lot of Hispanic secret societies. See my link in video 2. There are Freemason lodges for the blacks, Freemason lodges for the women, the something of the Star Order, to make women feel like they have agency now too, but not really. If women had agency, if they really cared about women, they would stop raping them and making them do things with the technology. It's all bullshit. And the problem is, it's I forgot my original thought process, which I think is what they wanted, but it's all BS. They're keeping down people in a systematic way using technology, Machiavellian brainwashing, and and fear, of course, fear. So, they've kept down people who would have invented something or created a business that would have blown into a multi-billion business, or they have kept down people systematically. It is systemic, just like that one scene in Atlanta, that great show, amazing television show, Atlanta, where the main character goes to get a passport for his rapper friend, and there's a Jewish guy behind the counter, and he says, "Do you think a black attorney could be as good as a Jewish attorney?" And then it's a really great scene. And then in the scene, the Jewish guy behind there goes, "Oh, I'm sure there is, but you need connections to thrive in being an attorney, entertainment attorney." And that's systemic. He says it's systemic. This is not something that is a side thought. This is something that been controlled for hundreds of years and decades. Who succeeds and who doesn't? And hey, if you stick with us and you don't cause any waves, you'll be a millionaire. You'll be just like us. And frankly, that is very enticing. If they came to me when I was in my 20s and a yuppie and just a dum dum, when you're in your 20s, you think you know everything, you think you're invincible, and you're stupid. You're a dummy. Very few people are wise in their 20s, okay? It's just not possible. And they said to me, "Hey, we'll give you a condo and we'll give you a lease on this brand new M3 BMW. Just sign this." And that says that if whatever you're going to see, you can be arrested for the rest of your life, thrown into a dark room with no windows, and you'd be charged with treason. Sign this, sign your life away, and then you're trapped. But if I were being completely honest, if that happened to me when I was younger, I might have done it. But I'm a good person, and I'd like to think that I would, just because I'm so empathic, would have like sniffed something's going on here. So, and I do realize some very few people are manipulated into it, but I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that I think most people, before they get into it, they know that something's fishy here, something's not good, and there's a fork in the road, and they chose that dark, dirty, maggoty, cowardly piece of shit road. And so, I don't know. I guess I'm done here. It's like bowling pins. In dominoes. You've one by one. They've been working. The white male government has been working slowly. They have scientists, the smartest people in the world who know about sociology and social proof, and the Kitty Genovese incident, where like 5 or 6 or 10 people didn't call the police because they all thought the other person would call the police when she was being stabbed in the alleyway. This is most people. The Stanford prison experiment. Most people are weak in this way. They're sheep. I am not. That's why I think, partly why I am here and I am a targeted individual. I am not. I have so many examples why I am not. I am the person that would have ran into that or yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" or something, or got out of my car or try to run him over. That's me. Not in every situation. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. If I think the guy has a gun and I'm going to get killed, no, I'm not going to scream and go run in there like Wonder Woman. But I am the nail that sticks out. And I've said things on social media about the Sackler family, Sackler. I said it for almost a year about them being behind the opioid crisis. I say a lot of things. I've said quote unquote unpatriotic things about white people, but who cares? It's true. They are psychopathic, control freak weirdos who have, like, strangely, a lack of empathy. Like, throughout my entire life, I saw black people say to some degree how they're scared of white people. And I never could really understand what they meant until now. The guy getting in the back of my car with a psychopathic smug. I've had so many of those incidents. with these gang stalkers, where another white guy got in the back of my car and he had that same psychopathic smug, where he said, look on his face, and he said, and you won't know who we are, you don't know who which one of us are, we are, like something to that effect. It's there's no word for it. It's slimy, it's snake. These are snakes and worms and maggots, um, and they are all around you and us. And if you do something they don't like or say something they don't like, you'll land on the list, and your life will be taken away from you just like that. So at 45 minutes and 10 seconds, I'll leave you with this, and just try, as my professor, my media studies, and now it's called communications professor, or department at UC Berkeley, said at the end of our last core class, she said, try to make better decisions, try to be better, do better, make better decisions. And I think it's because she knows what's going on. I never understood what she meant. She was trying to tell us about the production, the means of production, and whoever has the means of production has the control, and about how surveillance and all of this, I can't even say it right now. I'm just so tired. So just try to make better decisions. Try to take that road that it's really, really hard, but you can still make that decision before your hands get tied down the road. And ultimately, I don't think your hands can be tied. I don't believe that exists. But I think when the hairs on the back of your neck, and when in that, if you are if you have emotion and empathy, and that feeling, that heavy feeling in your chest that weighs down when you know it's wrong, try to make the decision that's more difficult. And as you go down that path, you will make that decision more and more, and it'll become easier. You'll realize, no, I'm not going to cheat on my wife, and you won't use that stupid excuse about how it was a mistake and you didn't mean to hurt anyone. Those are uttered by narcissistic, malignant narcissists, by the way. There's a step before that, before you're about to kiss that person. There are 10 million steps before that you can nip in the bud before you make that mistake. And only malignant narcissists say things like, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened. It was an accident." No, that's a lie. So I'm going to leave you with that. Make better decisions, and thanks for listening.